How much better can Arizona State recruit and use the transfer portal after making the college football playoff?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet is a winner. We are going to be talking Arizona State Sun Devils coming off a college football playoff appearance, which begs the question: how much can the Devils get in on more top prospects, lure them quickly, not only from the high school ranks, but from the transfer portal? For instance, we've already seen an uptick in some of the players that they're bringing in for official visits compared to previous years, and they've had some interesting transfer portal additions already too. So to help me figure all of this out, my guy over here, Locked On Sun Devils, Richie Bradshaw. How you doing, Richie?
I am doing good. It's always a good day when we get to talk some Arizona State Sun Devils football, and this is the best time of the year.
Yeah, there's a lot of transient nature with what's going on in the portal in high school. The next 2 months will be wild as the rosters are set for the 2025 season. So right off the bat, do you think Arizona State, since the last time I talked to you a month or so ago, have you seen even more of an uptick recruiting portal? Just kind of overall, what are your thoughts?
I think the ASU is definitely trending in that direction right now. They've had two huge weekends within the last 3 weeks or so, where they had 12 visitors towards the end of April. And then this past weekend, they had 10 more official visits. And you're seeing some big name profile guys coming through, 4 stars, guys that are really high 4 stars. And then there's guys that are just really interested in Arizona State that by the time they leave their visit over the weekend, they are committing to the program, and Kenny Dillingham's getting really excited about it. And the fans are finding stuff to really get interested in. And now it seems as though ASU is starting to approach a level where they can start flipping recruits. And we'll have to wait and see how that ends up working out. But that's not something that ASU has really done very well in a long time, if ever. And they just have the attention of these young men right now to be able to get in their ear and say, hey, we're building something really big here. We want you to be a part of it. What do you say? And whatever kind of silver tongue Kenny Dillingham has to be able to just persuade these guys like the Pied Piper, it's working.
Yeah, the kid you were talking about is Madden Williams, top receiver from California. A&M's got his commitment, but like he's taking a look at ASU. And that's a prospect that's got NFL potential in terms of his physical frame and where he's from, et cetera. He's a Los Angeles area kid, national recruit. 2 years ago, ASU wasn't getting that kid on campus. Let's be really honest.
No.
Why would you? Arizona State sucked. They were bad. Now all of a sudden you go to the playoff. It's amazing, Richie, how that changes the perspective of people. To that point, do you think there's more? This we're going to come back to this a couple of times. Do you think there's more in-state pull now for the Devils compared to before the playoff run, or is it still just about the same?
I think that you are engaging with the kids that are in your backyard that Herm Edwards and Antonio Pierce were not doing. They were so focused on Southern California kids that a seemingly countless amount of Arizona high school football players were leaving the state, or they were going down to Arizona, who was recruited very well in the state. And you see all of these phenomenal football players that go to other programs, because Arizona high school football has a lot of really good players that would have loved to have had an offer or a serious interest from Arizona State University, but they didn't get it. So they go out of state and they end up having these stellar careers and they go to the pros. And ASU fans are just sitting there and it's like, why are we letting these guys go? How are we not finding a way to keep them in the state? And then Kenny Dillingham comes in and he says, activate the Valley. We're gonna start engaging with the kids that are in our backyard. We're gonna start keeping them home. And you're seeing that the kids that are coming out of high school are interested in that. But you're seeing in the transfer portal a ton, borderline uncountable number of former Arizona high school football players that enter the portal and they come back to Arizona State. In the 3 years that Kenny Dillingham has been here, I mean, they started the first year with like 5 kids, like Kate Romney and Jacob Conover. This offseason, they grabbed Michael Gardner, who was a 4-star. Cole Martin came over last year. Like, I could just name you a million Arizona high school kids that are interested in returning home or staying home. And now that you're putting the effort out there and you have a product that is worth playing for, they actually have the attention of these kids, and they are all in on the number one kid in the state right now. I have to look up his name, but he's number one prospect in Arizona. He's a corner, 4-star. They are all in on him right now, and there's a really good chance they can pull him.
That wouldn't have happened even 6 months ago.
No, it would not.
They may not have finished in the Final 5 or even gotten an OB. So that's the trend overall. So to that point, let's talk about the portal for just a moment. Which position do you think Dillingham and his staff have done the best of attracting from the portal?
That's tough because they've done a good job attacking all over the place to bring in really good football players across the board. But if I had to pick one spot, I'm blown away by how many quality linebackers ASU has been pulling in so far. I mean, you look at the linebacker core the team has right now, the top 4 or 4 of the top 5 players that are currently on the roster were from the transfer portal. Keyshawn Elliott, who was all conference last year, Jordan Crook, Zyrus Fiaseu, Tate Romney, Crew Jackson is still on this team. They have built that linebacker core up through the transfer portal. And they got some young guys like Martell Hughes is someone a lot of people are excited about. But they did a really good job building the foundation through that. And the first year that Kenny Dillingham was in, they had Trey Brown coming down from Washington State, and he helped establish that. So that's been really good. They've really just done a good job with the defense as a whole, although the secondary is a lot of homegrown talent at this point. The offensive line has looked pretty good. The receivers have also looked really good because Jordan Tyson was a transfer.
That's right.
And yeah, now you see him as one of the guys who's being talked about as the best receivers in the nation. If you're an NFL draft fan, Pro Football Focus has him as wide receiver 1 right now. So there's,
wow. I didn't know that.
Fun fact, the sick deviant that I am for NFL draft content, yeah, I'm all over that stuff. But they're doing a good job pulling in linebackers, the defense entirely, and I think that wide receiver has seen a lot of really good players come in.
What about recruiting? Like, do you think this class needs any particular position, and are they able to kind of attract that, at least through the visits and commitments so far? Or is they just trying to recruit a balanced class?
I think they're definitely going for a balanced class, but I very much encourage them to really pile on for the edge rushing position. They've got a handful of guys that they like right now. They got a commitment from, I'm going to have to look him up, Julian Hugo from Texas.
Yeah, he's a good player.
Yeah, that's one that they're really excited about. But you're going to be losing basically your entire edge rushing room and the vast majority of your defensive line. Or no, the defensive tackle spot's actually good. It's the edge rushers. Clayton Smith's gone. Prince Dorbaugh's gone. Elijah O'Neal is gone. Anthony Cooper is gone. Justin Wadley is gone. And there's not a lot that's currently being developed on this team. So they're going to have to add some guys through this recruiting class. But I also think there's a very realistic possibility that for the winter window for the transfer portal, they go heavy for whatever is out there. 3 stars, 5-star edge rushers, whatever is there. But that's the position that I would put a ton of emphasis on right now. Because otherwise, I feel like they're taking a very balanced approach to the way that they're adding guys. They have 4-star corners and 4-star receivers and Jake Fetty, the 4-star quarterback. You got to get that edge rushing spot figured out because it already was a weakness last year. And you're going to lose basically the entire room next year.
Well, when we come back, I want to talk about the NIL aspect of the recruiting and the transfer portal here on this crossover edition of Locked On Sun Devils and Locked On the Portal. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if your bet wins. FanDuel makes betting very easy, whether you're picking your favorite team or diving into player props. For instance, if you want to bet on steals, three-point shots made, rebounds, assists, or anything else, FanDuel has you covered. And if you miss tip-off, you can still live bet on the game. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. All right, Richie. The NIL aspect of ASU is something that you and I have talked about a couple of times, and that's a growing long-term deal. I'm not going to do a deep dive into it, but do you think that ASU's in a spot where they can at least be quote-unquote competitive now with the market in the Big 12, which is really competitive because there's so much oil money in the Big 12. It's insane. Texas Tech, Oklahoma State, all those schools in the Texas area have oil money, all of them. So
Yep.
How do they compete with that? And does it matter as much for the in-state kids, especially in high school, because they're not competing with Texas Tech, whatnot, for Arizona kids very often?
Yeah, so you got a lot of competition that's going down, and we can't forget about BYU, who has
Absolutely,
bazillion dollars from the Church of Latter-day Saints, and obviously their biggest contributor is the owner of the Utah Hockey Club, soon to be the Utah Venom, not the Arizona Coyotes, though. That's all I do know. But ASU still has work to do to get up with the big dogs. The thing that they have working for themselves right now is that they are in such a good position in terms of competing and having that opportunity to go to the playoff on a consistent basis. I mean, we're only 2 years in, but this roster looks ready to repeat and get back into the Big 12 championship, or at least contend for like a 10-win season. And that is attractive for these kids. So while you're building up that NIL in the background, you at least are providing them with an opportunity to hey, NFL teams are going to watch Arizona State because we got several players that are going to go pro one day. And if you want to be in the spotlight, then come down here. If you want to be competing for tons of wins or going to quality bowl games or maybe going to the college football playoff, then come to Arizona State. And that's also going to trickle down into getting that NIL going, because you do have very fickle fans in the state of Arizona. There's a lot of stuff to do, and no one's going to watch bad sports, whether it's football, baseball, basketball, whatever. So you continue to have winning, successful seasons. You string together another 10-win season, that NIL's flying in. There are deep pockets in the Valley, and what they're waiting on is continued sustained success, because the Sun Devils have not had that in a very long time.
Yeah, I can't remember the last time I was Arizona State, they're a team that should win their league or they should be a play. I don't remember the last time I talked about it. So a lot of these kids grew up thinking to themselves, you know what? Why would I go to Arizona State? But then that just flipped out of nowhere last year. Nobody saw that coming to that level.
Not even the craziest Sun Devil fans.
No. So now that they got it rolling, you do have to strike while the iron's hot, as the old saying's going. So we'll see if the Devils are able to do that. But right now, I've been impressed. They keep getting guys on campus, both through the portal and in recruiting. So that's certainly going to be helpful. Anything recent that caught your attention, whether portal, whether high school, that really makes you think, okay, they're trending in the right direction? Any specific player or any event in general?
Honestly, I think that news that we just got over the weekend for the receiver that is, Madden, that's looking at seriously looking at Arizona State. And there was a really good conversation that he had with 24/7 where he was like, there's a lot that Arizona State offers, and it's something worth considering. So the fact that you are having conversations with high-level recruits who are committed to a program and you might be able to flip them is pretty crazy. But more than anything, to me, it's been the vast number of visits that ASU has lined up. Within the last 3 weeks, they've had 22 official visits, and there's still more big ones on the way. There are some very intriguing ones that are coming up in the summer with the Carter brothers, and it's a lot of fun right now in the Valley because it just feels like we're doing things that we've dreamed of being capable of, and here they are.
Yeah, it is kind of cool because Arizona State had, I mean, they'd kind of forgotten about in a lot of ways. They were a throw in, it seemed like almost in the situation with the Big 12. Oh, Arizona State are coming. Okay, great. People can go out and vacation while they go out to a football game. Like it was just not looked at that big a deal in the Big 12, but then they win the Big 12. So that changed the perception in a lot of ways. Talk to me about what you think of Dillingham as a recruiter. Like, is he a guy that is really good with the kids, or like, I haven't heard much about him in that. I have no idea. What's his reputation like out there as a recruiter?
Oh, he's phenomenal. I mean, he's a young enough guy. He just turned 35 years old to where he can relate to these kids. He's young enough to understand some of the stuff that they're going through, or popular trends and stuff like that, some of the old heads in college football just don't really keep up with for one reason or another. So he can relate to them on that level. But you've also got a guy in Kenny Dillingham who is, I think the best way to describe him is he's an old soul, because even at 35 years old, he's very traditional, and he's got his own rule set up where if you commit to Arizona State, you are not visiting any other programs. That is why 4-star tight end Israel Briggs decommitted from ASU. He took a visit to Michigan. That's a man-to-man handshake. And, these kids should be able to do whatever they want. I have no problem with that. But for Kenny Dillingham, look, you're giving us your commitment. You're giving us your word. And if you're interested in doing other things, then power to you, but this is not the place for you. So when you have a guy that's young and can relate to the kids, but at the same time, he has that wise old man wisdom and the authority that the kids respect, not fear, it just kind of culminates together. And you're like, this is the guy I want to follow to war. Like, he can relate to me, but I'm ready to run through a wall for Kenny Dillingham. That's the way he's able to speak to these 16, 17, 18-year-old kids. And then the guys who enter the transfer portal and they're looking for something different, they sit down with Kenny Dillingham and he's like, yeah, no, I understand the modern landscape of where we're at with college football. And I know how we can get you taken care of and how we can sell you and all sorts of stuff to really promote them and get them ready for whatever level they're looking to do. So it's a beautiful, unique blend of I'm young, I can relate to you, and you can treat me like a father figure or a grandfather figure because I'm just going to tell you what it is.
That's impressive. Not every guy that is that age can recruit. Just because you're in your 30s, there's some guys that suck at it. So I was curious because for them to get to the level they need to, Kenny has to want to do it, not force himself. You know what I mean? Like, kids will know when you're faking it. They will read through the BS. So that's good for Dillingham. When we come back, I want to talk about the expectations for Arizona State with the portal, with recruiting and everything. That is next here on this crossover of Locked Over Sun Devils and the Portal Podcast. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you and your business get to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. It's also fast and easy because posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates are going to be there likely to choose from. Visit Upwork.com right now to post your job for free. That's Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. What kind of expectations do you have, Richie, for 2025 with the new roster additions? Arizona State is now the hunted, not the hunter. I mean, how much that matters? How much do you think the roster additions they've made so far are going to make it easier for them to at least make quote unquote a run at the Big 12 title?
You know what's so tough with expectations for ASU is trying to settle what's fair, what's realistic, what 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 is a good middle ground, because
Okay.
you're returning the vast majority of this roster, right? Cam Scadaboo is gone. The people's running back is gone. He's in the pros, but Sam Levitt is back. Jordan Tyson is back. Your number one tight end, Shimon Mateer is back. 4 of your 5 starters from the offensive line are back. Your number 2 running back, Tyson Brown, is back. There's a lot that's returning on the offensive side of the football, and the defensive side of the football lost almost nobody. They are returning the vast majority of that defense, and they also didn't lose very many guys in the transfer portal. Most of the guys that entered the transfer portal were third team or scout team. They did not lose very many guys that were part of the top 2 deep rotation. So you look at that and you look at the fact that ASU just won 11 games and they won the Big 12, and they took Texas to double overtime in the Peach Bowl, and you go, yeah, they should run it back. That's the expectation. But can we make that the expectation for a team that won 6 games the last 2 seasons combined and then won 11 games this year? Like, yeah, a lot of the team is coming back, but there's also a lot of people in the country who fairly are asking the question, was that a Cinderella team in Arizona State? Are they going to be able to sustain that success on an annual basis? Or did everything just culminate together at the right time? So that's where it's really tough for ASU fans and people that are looking at the team, whether they're in the state of Arizona or they're in the media, to be like, what do we do with ASU? Like, that is a good team, that there's a lot coming back, but you're in year 2 of Kenny Dillingham. There's no guarantees that they're going to be able to continue this going. I mean, I am obviously very confident in ASU for several reasons, but there's a lot of skeptics out there, and they have every right to be skeptical with a team that really has not been successful in the last several years.
That's interesting because they're probably one of the harder teams for even the sharps in Vegas to figure out, because so much of it was portal. Cam Scadaboo was an emotional engine that's, I don't know if you can put a grade on that in terms of a finite number. And then at the same time, they were just magic in close games too. Usually that flips the next year. I mean, doesn't
Exactly.
just, 3-point win becomes a 3-point loss. It's just, kind of law of averages play out that way.
Not sustainable.
However, oh yeah, you've got to be able to kick somebody in the teeth once in a while and rest your starters in the fourth quarter if you want to do that 2 years in a row. So my final question here for you is this. With the 25 expectations, again, they're the hunted, not the hunter this year. Do you think that the new guys coming in will be able to, at least for what you've heard or what your expectations are, to blend together? Like last year, the portal guys that came in, obviously Scadaboo, it's kind of hard to.
It's his own thing.
Yeah, it's his own deal. But do you think they have figured it out and they've meshed with this roster? Is everything good there? Because I think it's a safe assumption that they know what they're doing in terms of evaluating the portal players. Last year's fact for that. I mean, it's not really debatable. So what about this group?
The thing that I like the most about this group is you have so many returning faces already that for the new guys that are coming in, they're going to be joining a culture that is established. That's one of the reasons why in year 1 of Kenny Dillingham, they won 3 games. They were in games. They were very close, but they couldn't finish games and get the wins. And a huge portion of that is these guys aren't familiar with each other. It's brand new. They weren't recruited together. They didn't play a season together. It's a new program with a new head coach and a new staff entirely. And that's difficult to add up. But now you're in year 3 and you have guys who have been here since the start of the Kenny Dillingham era. But you've got guys who were wildly successful last year that are reuniting. Like the Sam Levitt to Jordan Tyson connection is going to be deadly this year. So when you add these other players to the mix, they're not going to be as awestruck with this, like, oh my God, there's so much going on that I don't know how to comprehend and handle it. They're going to have the teammates that have been here and done that, and they're familiar with the coaching staff that has largely remained unchanged as well. They've lost not Brian Carrington, Rashad Samples, their receivers coach, and they replaced him with Hines Ward. So they have so much continuity on that roster that you are bringing in several players. I mean, it's almost a brand new wide receiver room. There's 3 guys from the transfer portal, and there's a bunch of freshmen that are coming in. So it's going to be a challenge for certain groups, but when you have the continuity on the team, that will translate to the rest of the guys, and they gain that confidence and they understand, wow, look at the way that Sam and Jordan are totally in sync. I know that I can get myself to that point as well. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to take notes. I'm going to have conversations. I want to get to know Sam. I want to get to know Jordan. And from there, everything just sort of comes together from that point. So I think that's the difference between what happened year 1, even what happened year 2, and what's going on in year 3 is there's so much continuity on this roster that it will just matriculate to the rest of the guys, whether they're brand new or if they've been redshirted and they're trying to learn. It's just a lot of confidence that is being spread out for all these guys.
Well, that's important. If you don't believe in each other, you're not going to win football games, because football is the ultimate team sport. So that is a very good point. Richie, tell everybody where they can find all your work, my friend.
Well, we host Locked On Sun Devils over here. I am your host, obviously. You can get Locked On Sun Devils wherever you're getting your shows. That's YouTube or any audio platform. You can find me on Twitter at RichieBrads36. The podcast is LO_Sun Devils.
Appreciate it, sir. You can find the Portal Podcast wherever you get your pods as well. YouTube, Spotify, Apple, and anywhere else you get your downloads. Take us on the go. We will see you again soon on the Portal Podcast.